He didn't ask. He didn't chase. He didn't follow the script. And she didn't understand why she couldn't stop thinking about him. She told herself he wasn't her type, said he was too much, too forward, too blunt. But her body didn't care, because he didn't move like the others. He didn't act like he needed her to stay, and that broke her defenses before he even touched her. There are rules, social ones, cultural ones, feminine-coded expectations you're supposed to play by. Be nice, be patient, wait for a signal, don't escalate, don't be too much. Don't show that you want her, but don't act like you don't either. Stay in the middle, perform just enough to seem confident, but not so much that it makes her feel tested. But then he walks in, and does none of it. And she doesn't just tolerate him, she melts. Why? Because what most people call confidence, he calls default. What they call dangerous, she feels as freeing. He doesn't just break the rules, he moves like the rules don't apply. Not because he's arrogant, but because he's aligned. She's not used to that, and that's why she sleeps with him. Not because he tricked her, not because he played her, because he reminded her what it feels like to be fully awake again. Number 1, the man. She warned herself about, and then fell for. She said she wouldn't. She told her friends he was the type to avoid, the kind that plays with fire and doesn't flinch, the kind who speaks like he's already seen every reaction and doesn't care which one you give. She said she wanted something safe, something stable, something predictable. But the man who broke every rule wasn't safe, or stable, or predictable. And that's exactly why she couldn't resist him. He didn't wait for permission to exist. He didn't soften his edges to keep the room calm. His silence was louder than anyone's flattery, and she felt it immediately. The energy that couldn't be shaped, coached, or controlled. He didn't rebel out of spite. He didn't challenge for approval. He just lived on a different frequency. And that frequency hit her body like a shockwave. She warned herself. And yet she kept leaning in. Because the part of her that said he's trouble wasn't speaking from logic. It was reacting to polarity, to raw, centered masculinity she hadn't felt in years. Not toxic, not performative, just unfiltered and unaffected. He didn't need to argue. He didn't compete. He didn't care about being liked. That made him untouchable. That made him magnetic. Because while everyone else played roles, he played with reality. And she craved that honesty more than she wanted safety. That's why she slept with him. Because she didn't feel pressured. She felt free for the first time in a long time. Number 2, she expected the script. He broke the pattern. She's seen it 100 times. The same rhythm, the same sequence. The compliments, the questions, the predictable pauses between flirting and asking for something. The jokes meant to land. The eye contact held too long. The smirk that says, "I read the rules." They all follow the same script, and she's bored of it. Then he shows up and shatters it. He doesn't smile when expected, doesn't rush to agree, doesn't compliment the obvious. He's present, but not performing. His words don't try to impress, they cut through. And every time she tries to anticipate the next line, he gives her silence instead of validation. That silence flips everything. She expected attention. He gave her focus. She expected pursuit. He gave her permission. She expected a playbook. He gave her unpredictability. And in that moment, her defenses, rehearsed and worn thin from years of predictable behavior, start to crumble. She expected to be in control, to test and observe. But now she's the one scanning, adjusting, second-guessing, because the pattern broke, and the person in front of her doesn't need to be liked. That changes everything. She starts leaning in, not because he pushed, but because he didn't. She becomes curious. not because he revealed everything, but because he held something back. She starts craving his attention, not because he gave it away freely, but because he only gives it when it matters. And that's what no one taught her to expect: presence without performance, calm without cowardice, detachment without disrespect. It's not arrogance, it's command, and it's rare. She didn't sleep with him because he tricked her. She slept with him because she trusted him, even when she didn't understand why. Number 3, he wasn't reckless, he was free. They called him reckless, said he didn't care, said he moved too fast, spoke too directly, lived without filters, but they were wrong. He cared deeply, just not about the things most people are trained to fear. He didn't play by rules that didn't serve him. He didn't fear rejection, silence, or disapproval. That didn't make him careless. It made him free. Freedom doesn't look like chaos when it's real. It looks like calm. Deep, unshakable calm. He didn't rush. He didn't react. He didn't explain himself when others demanded it. His silence wasn't confusion. It was control. His decisions weren't impulsive. They were instinctual. And she felt that instantly. She was used to people holding back, waiting for the right moment, filtering every word to sound right, trying to get a yes by avoiding all the no's. But this man didn't need the yes. He moved when it was real. He spoke when it mattered. And if the room couldn't handle him, he didn't shrink. He simply left. She wasn't used to that. Most people try to win her over. He didn't even try to be understood. His clarity was more attractive than any strategy. He wasn't rebelling to stand out. He wasn't acting mysterious. He just wasn't chained to the game. And that made him unpredictable, uncontrollable, unmistakable. She knew there was danger in him, but not the kind that hurts, the kind that awakens, the kind that pulls you out of sleepwalking through emotions and into something visceral, something that makes her question what she thought she wanted. Something that breaks the old list of must-haves and replaces it with one line: he sees through me. That's why she let go. That's why she opened. That's why she gave more than she planned. Because he didn't force it. He didn't earn it. He didn't ask for it. He just was it. Number 4, she said she hated men like him while staring at his lips. She said it half joking, half defensive. You're the type I tell myself to avoid. And yet, her eyes didn't match her words. Her body didn't back up her logic. She spoke of warning signs, boundaries, self-respect. But she leaned closer. Her voice softened. Her curiosity deepened. Because what she said was what she'd been taught. What she felt was something else entirely. She hated the chaos he carried, but only because it reminded her how numb she'd become. She hated his silence because it made her talk more than she planned to. She hated that he didn't chase, because she was used to running and didn't know what to do when no one followed. She hated the way he made her feel seen, not just complimented, not just wanted, seen, and it scared her. She'd built armor around herself with rules, scripts, dating expectations, psychological checklists to keep herself safe. But this man didn't fit any of them. He didn't play by the metrics. He didn't care how he scored. He just existed, fully. And that full presence broke through every defense. Her mouth said, "You're trouble." But her eyes said, "Don't stop." Her body said, "Don't wait." Her silence screamed, "Keep going." That's the paradox. What she says and what she feels are often different worlds, and only the ones who stop trying to perform and start simply being can hear the truth underneath her resistance. She didn't want another man who would shrink himself to please her. She didn't want to lead. She didn't want to test and babysit and decode every insecure reaction. She wanted to feel a fire she couldn't tame. And in him, she saw it. So yes, she said she hated men like him, but she said it while staring at his lips. Number 5. He didn't follow her lead, and that's when she melted. She was used to leading, subtly. Most people don't notice it. But she does it every time. She controls the pace, sets the tone, decides the rhythm of the conversation. It's not malicious, it's protective. It keeps her safe. It helps her filter who's strong enough to stand on their own and who needs her permission to speak freely. So when he came in and didn't follow her cues, she didn't know what to do at first. She flirted. He didn't bite. She joked to test his emotional range. He stayed calm. She gave him a slight challenge. He didn't flinch. She tried to lead, and he let her, until she noticed he wasn't following. He wasn't ignoring her. He was observing. He wasn't resisting. He was resting in his own energy. And that's when something cracked in her. Because for the first time, she didn't feel like she had to guide the moment. She didn't have to perform. She didn't have to keep everything together. His presence didn't challenge her control. It neutralized it. She melted, not because he overpowered her, but because he didn't need anything from her. He didn't follow her lead because he was already centered. He wasn't confused. He wasn't scanning for signs. He wasn't asking, is she interested? He moved on what he felt, not on her permission. That subtle leadership, the kind that doesn't need a crown or a performance, that's what made her body lean in, because she'd spent years giving signals no one understood. And finally, someone walked in who didn't need signals. He felt the vibe, trusted himself, and moved without hesitation. That's when the tension shifted. That's when she stopped testing. That's when she started following. And it wasn't manipulation. It was mastery. Number 6. She wasn't controlled. She felt seen without filters. There's a difference between domination and direction, between control and presence. One is about forcing outcomes. The other is about revealing truth. And what she felt with him wasn't pressure. It was clarity. The kind that pierces straight through the roles, the personas, the filters people wear to stay safe. He didn't try to impress her. He didn't flatter her. He didn't make her the center of the conversation. And yet, she felt more seen than with anyone who had ever worshipped her. That's the paradox. He wasn't reacting to her performance. He was responding to her energy, not the smile she curated, not the story she crafted, but the tension underneath it, the flicker in her eye when she was guarded, the drop in her tone when something touched her heart. He noticed those, and nothing else. She didn't feel controlled. She felt read, and that hit her differently. Because for once, she didn't have to be impressive to be valued. She didn't have to perform to be heard. She didn't have to lead to feel safe. His presence wasn't demanding anything. It was simply there, unapologetic, centered, fully aware. That made her melt. He didn't correct her. He didn't fix her. He didn't challenge her opinions like a debate. He simply watched, understood, gave space, and within that space, her guard dropped because it wasn't needed. With him, she didn't feel controlled. She felt free to be fully feminine, not as a role, but as a response. He didn't take her power. He mirrored it back with stillness. And that reflection? It made her crave him, not because he dominated her, but because he was the first one who didn't need her to be anything, to feel everything. Number 7, he created chaos, but only because he was more calm than her. She thought she had control until she met someone who didn't need any. She thought she was calm until his stillness exposed how loud her inner world was. She thought she wanted predictability until his unpredictability made her feel more alive than she had in years. That's the chaos he created. But it wasn't reckless. It wasn't emotional instability dressed as passion. It was controlled disturbance, the kind that shakes you out of sleep, that makes you look inward, that shows you how much you've been hiding from others, from love, from yourself. He created chaos not by yelling, not by aggression, but by being so calm, so grounded that it disrupted her patterns. While she talked fast, he listened slowly. While she defended herself, he didn't attack. While she leaned into logic, he held emotion without needing a word. She wasn't ready for it, but her body was. She was used to leading the emotional dance. But now she was in a rhythm she couldn't control. And instead of panicking, she surrendered. Because the calm he brought was not passive, it was charged, it was filled with tension, the kind that says, I don't need to touch you for you to feel me. That's the storm he carried, not one that destroyed, one that cleared the air. He asked no questions, he made no demands. But everything inside her wanted to open, because his silence wasn't empty, it was watching, and his energy wasn't chasing, it was anchoring. He wasn't wild. He was stiller than her fear. And in that stillness, she stopped performing. That's why she slept with him. Not because he brought chaos, but because he could hold hers. Number 8. In breaking the rules, he gave her permission to break hers too. She had rules. Rules about when, about how, about why. Rules to stay safe, to stay in control, to avoid getting hurt. Rules passed down from other women, from old wounds, from fear dressed up as empowerment. But he didn't follow any of them. And because of that, she didn't have to either. He didn't wait for a certain number of dates. He didn't try to deserve her attention. He didn't play by her timeline. And in that rebellion, he gave her the one thing no one else ever had: freedom from the script. He didn't ask for the green light. He just walked in alignment. And she didn't plan to say yes, but her body said it anyway. Because when someone is unapologetically themselves, it disarms everyone pretending. And in his presence, her rules stopped making sense. Why wait when everything felt right? Why pretend to be unsure when she'd never been more certain? Why guard what wanted to flow when the person in front of her wasn't trying to take anything? She wasn't used to it. Most play the game. He played nothing. He just was. And that energy? It gave her space to finally feel without shame. She dropped the script. She followed the moment. And she didn't feel guilty. Because for once, the one who broke the rules didn't use her. He freed her. And that freedom? That's what she'll remember long after the moment ends. She didn't fall for the man who followed the rules. She fell for the one who didn't need them, not because he was disrespectful, not because he was wild, but because his presence made her feel something none of the others could. Freedom. He didn't apologize for being direct. He didn't hold back to play it safe. He didn't treat intimacy like a prize to be earned. He moved through energy, not expectation. And she followed. Not because he asked, because she wanted to. Because that's the truth no one wants to say out loud. The one who needs the rules rarely becomes the one she remembers. But the one who is the rule breaker with clarity, he rewrites her nervous system. She didn't sleep with him because he manipulated her. She slept with him because he woke her up. If this video gave you clarity, shook your spirit, or rewired what you thought you knew, support this channel. Like to push this deeper into the algorithm. Comment. I don't follow, I lead through presence. Share this with someone who's stuck in dating advice that doesn't work. Subscribe for more clarity, more depth, and more unfiltered emotional power. This channel exists to wake people up, to end the noise, to break the scripts, to set fire to every shallow tactic and build something real. By supporting this message, you help make these insights accessible to the people who need it most, people who are one truth away from finally breaking their own patterns. And that's how we change lives. Let's walk it, together. No more rules, just alignment.